Right, let's continue to talk about technology. I know one of my favorite conversations, I'm sure it is yours as well, because if you don't talk about it, you're going to be left out of this world that is moving so fast. I mean, we're currently living through the era known as the fourth industrial revolution, which means that everything is done digitally. Technology is being updated almost in the blink of an eye. Many businesses in South Africa are making moves to digital migration, but this process is being slowed down by the lack of skills in the information communication and technology sector, also known obviously as the ICT sector. In order for businesses to have a competitive edge, they need to keep up with the global digital trends. To speak to us about the backlog in ICT skills and how to close the gap in our country is Craig Terblanche, Regional Director for OutSystems SA. Craig, good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's so interesting that we are doing this interview on the back of the previous one that we had, talking about banking and the systems and one of the questions I asked was the job losses associated with everything moving towards technology. The answer from my guest was, we need to upskill people in order to not lose their jobs. So this is really where the problem is lying. I mean, tell us your perspective.
There's still many opportunities for people to get involved in business process improvement. There are many things that haven't actually changed. Many business processes are still weak, not ideal. As we were saying, you still have to revert to email, but the trick is to integrate that with an app, for example. So now how do you get the kind of skills that you need to know how you would be able to do that? Well, it's not that difficult. Technologists tend to overcomplicate the notion of building an app and overhype this whole notion of, apps will solve every problem. And now the business executives and the board are saying, oh, why haven't we got an app? And maybe that's not the answer. The answer is to just go back to basics and understand the fundamentals of a system. And really the fundamentals are about, what is the information, what is the data? It could be in spreadsheets. It may not be in systems at the moment. What are the processes that encapsulate the business rules or the steps that the business wants to follow to serve its customers effectively? And how will those be incorporated into a user interface or a screen that works? So there's this notion of low-code platforms that allow you to work with a visual interface, and that makes it a lot easier to learn how to build an app or a solution actually that is more integrated to the way the business works to support customers more effectively.
My question, and I'd like to sort of push the conversation more in the direction of the lack of skills in the ICT sector, which actually worries me, because you think that the youth of today, who are these millennials, who know everything there is about technology. I mean, if I have a problem, I give it to my 4-year-old who sorts it out for me. And I'm not even joking.
No, absolutely.
But so why is it that we lack the skills? Why is the ICT sector not attracting the youth that we'd like them to go into?
I think because, from a computer science point of view, it's still quite complicated. It's driven as quite a high skill, high complexity requirement, to learn to become a computer scientist, to get a computer science degree is quite difficult. You have to have advanced maths, at least, and advanced English, for example, because of the logic of syntax and that sort of thing. So it's not easy for somebody that's, say, come out of a rural education with poor maths and English to get into computer science at all. But if you can teach them the fundamentals and the basic building blocks that are really about, can you learn to use a spreadsheet? Can you learn to use PowerPoint? And build interfaces that make sense? Can you learn to apply logic that, that matches what the business would do? And putting that together to build an application is possible. And you can start a lot younger. If you take, for example, the Lego robotic programming that children can learn. Now, unfortunately, that creates a higher barrier to entry because it's a bit expensive. But as long as you've got a tablet, there are tools out there to learn through products like Scratch, the basics of drag and drop and getting into building.
Absolutely.
So we need to start earlier, and we need to dumb it down, unfortunately, to the fundamentals, which are just data, process, logic, and screens.
And perhaps introducing it as a subject at school and making it compulsory to do that, because that is the way the world is going.
Yeah, even at school, you know, they tend to go to teaching kids Java, which is a complex language with complex syntax, with complex metaphors and paradigms that many kids won't get, even if you are tech savvy with a device. You know, that low level coding is actually at a different level of complexity, which isn't essential. We've got a really nice success story with one of our ladies that's come out of a BCom finance that couldn't find a job. We've trained her, and she's been able to build software, and she's now at one of our biggest clients and really doing well. So it is possible to take, you know, we're working with a database of graduates that can't find work and screen them and check out things like, you know, what are the gaps? Why is it that they're not finding work? It might be poor English. It might be, you know, they haven't learned to present themselves well. They haven't got the confidence. But you can work through those things and upskill people very nicely.
Very interesting, Craig. Thanks so much for talking to us. Again, like I say, we could sit talking technology all day and integrate these conversations.
We need to simplify it.
And that's the whole idea.
That's the trick,
Craig Terblanche, Regional Director for OutSystems SA, talking to us about the backlog in ICT skills in the country and how we should go about closing them. Let's take a break. News at 8 after this. Stay tuned.